broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello, Welcome Home listeners. Thank you for joining us on episode 24 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, here with Trevor. Trevor, did you see all of the people that commented on our really cool How DVC Are You quiz that we did?
Oh my gosh, yes. That, you know what? That was awesome. I was really blown away by the amount of people that commented and responded, and the scores too. I mean, I think I said it on the last podcast that, you know, I'm feeling kind of like a noob because a lot of the stuff that I was supposed to do, I didn't get to do, so my score is way lower than it should be. But yeah, we have some real hardcore DVC listeners out there, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing. I know what you mean, you know, because I feel like even with my score, I think it was a 25, I still felt very inadequate to some of our listeners who are really, I mean, nobody had a perfect 50. I will say that. We didn't see any perfect 50s, but we did see some very high scores, and thank you all for taking that thing. We had so much fun making it, and then so much fun taking it on the last podcast that we really wanted to share that with everybody. So it was really cool to see how many people really shared what their scores were on that. So we appreciate that. And those of you that are listening to this and are saying, what are you guys talking about? Maybe you're a new listener, you didn't listen to our last show, or you're just discovering us now. Please go to our Facebook page. It is on there. It's a couple posts down. You'll see it. It's called How DVC Are You? It's a quiz we made just kind of to show kind of your experience level with DVC. But we said on our last podcast that we were going to mention all of our listeners that commented on our page that were master level, DVC members as far as our quiz goes, and that was 40 points and above. So we have a couple here that we want to mention: Tracy O, Jennifer C, Barbara G, Carol S, Scott H, who says he's a double secret platinum member. I'm not sure if that means he really is in the 40 to 50 range, but it was such a funny comment, I had to mention it. So.
That's a joke if you've been on some of the Facebook pages.
Of course, but I had to mention that, right? So,
Yeah.
But Scott, if you really are a master level DVC member, congratulations on that. So, yeah. And then we had just one that just came in recently too, from Linda K. So thanks again, you guys, for contributing to this. It was cool to see all the responses, and we hope to get more after we talk about it right now. That more people will chime in. So
yeah, like I said, it's super fun. I love seeing these kind of things where, you know, everybody's really they're interested by it. Honestly, I think I didn't realize how big we were at the or how many listeners we have, and I mean that's just because, you know, we've been doing this we're actually coming up on a year.
We are coming
doing this, which is kind of crazy, and like I said, it just blows me away that there's so many people out there that are interested in listening to this, because I mean it's something that I really enjoy, but I'm surprised at how well it seems to be resonating with people. So
yeah. For sure. I mean, you guys, if you guys have listened to our show, if you're fans of our show and listen to our episodes, we cannot thank you guys enough for listening to this. So we just, Trevor, Damon, and I, and unfortunately, by the way, Damon couldn't be here tonight, but
Yep.
Trevor and I are here to Disney nerd out because that's what we do. So, but
yep.
But yeah, no, we just can't believe that people enjoy listening to this thing. So we appreciate you guys doing it, because we have so much fun doing it, and the fact that other people enjoy listening to it is so cool. So yeah. What were you gonna say, Trevor? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, do we want to get into some news? Because
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's happened, or well, a lot of announcements, I guess. So I guess the first thing is that there's some new purchase incentives for DVC, as well as the changes to the membership extras, which I guess they're not bad, but these aren't improvements either.
That's true. So we could talk about the incentives first really quickly here. And as you guys know, those of you that are DVC members or have been following it, the prices for direct purchases just went up, right? So, making resale a little more attractive. So you had to assume that Disney was probably going to throw some developer credits out there and some incentives and things like that. But basically, you really need to think about how these credits, and maybe this is something to talk to Nick about at DVC Resale Market, whether these credits are something that's worth it to you or something that's going to make you buy. And basically, what these are, and Trevor, I don't know, did you get a developer credit when you bought?
No,
is that, no deal going on.
Yeah, we only bought 100 points, and back at that point there wasn't any promos or anything like that, and so we wouldn't have qualified for any of the incentives anyway.
Yeah, and so the incentives for new members start at 150 points, and basically, so 150 points you get $1,000 developer credit, 175, $2,500, 200 points, $3,500, goes all the way up to 1,000. I'm not going to read all of them because there's a lot of them, but if it goes all the way up to 1,000, and you would get if you had bought 1,000 points, you get a $26,000 developer credit, which is pretty hefty. Then again, if you're buying 1,000 points, that's a pretty hefty amount of money you're going to be spending.
Yeah,
anyway, so.
Exactly.
But basically, these are just kind of credits that kind of lower the price per point of these direct purchases that you'd make. So basically, at 150 points, you're basically getting a credit of 6.67 credits per point. So it's
dollars per credit.
I'm sorry, dollars per credit. My good. Or what are we saying here?
Dollars per point. Yeah,
dollars per point.
Something for something. I don't know.
Yeah, basically. So so that's kind of how those work. There are also purchase incentives for existing members too to add on direct points. Those are a little bit lower. So, for example, 125 points, you would get $750 in development credits. Developer credits, and up to 1,000, you'd still get 26,000 if you were a current member. So, but these offers are only being offered for the Polynesian villas and bungalows. Oh, wait, I'm sorry about that. My bad. They're no longer being offered there, and so it's really just for Copper Creek, and I believe for Alani is still selling those as well. Yeah,
so. I believe, I guess Boulder Ridge isn't considered the new development. That's the old
it's Copper
Wilderness
Creek.
Ridge.
Yeah.
So I guess Copper Creek, Alani, and I would assume at some point Riviera will be in there too.
That's an interesting point, because I wonder if I'm assuming, I don't know, how early do they start selling those, or how soon are they going to start pushing those, I wonder.
And that's actually a good point. I've never been around when a new resort has been built, so this will be interesting to see how, or if they let these incentives run right until that comes up and then they stop offering them, or if they'll leave them out there as a reason for people that are buying in early to get into the Riviera for a better price.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm almost wondering if they're even going to need the developer credits for Riviera, because I feel like there's a lot of interest in Riviera. I feel like people are really thinking that, because it's in such a good location, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. I mean, you're like right by Hollywood Studios.
I mean, it's I was looking at, because it's on the same lake as Caribbean Beach, so you can see both Epcot and Hollywood Studios from there, which is pretty. It's a pretty prime location for those two parks. If you're interested more in going to Magic Kingdom, obviously it's not the best place to be, but it's. We'll have to see how things play out here, I guess, in the next year or so with DVC stuff.
Yeah, and I also, I think it's interesting, too, to look at these developer credits. And, just from talking to Nick and from researching resale on my own, I don't know if $1,000 towards 150 points would really get me to buy direct instead of buying resale. That just seems to me like not enough, considering how much you can really save buying resale.
And that's the thing too, right? Is for somebody that's buying in with more points, is you already have a direct contract, so you've got all the perks of being a direct member. And I guess maybe this is the thing, is that I guess this could also apply to people that have previously bought resale and they're looking to buy, or actually, I guess
buy direct. Direct points, yeah.
Yeah, I guess this would still apply if you had bought resale and you want to buy direct. So maybe that's kind of the market that they're looking at, is people that they've got resale. They're now convinced that direct is maybe worthwhile, and they want to buy in a bit more. But
and I actually think that kind of leads into the changes to membership extras conversation, right?
Yes, it does.
Do you want to talk about that a little?
For sure. So what they did is, effective February 25th, 2018, which is about a week from this podcast, to be eligible for membership extras, you have to own a minimum of 75 points purchased direct from Disney. So if you already have an existing contract that's less than 25 points, so if you got a 50-point contract, you're still going to be grandfathered in. So anybody up to that point, if they bought resale and then they added on like a 50-point contract, that still applies. But anybody new coming into this, you have to buy at least 75 points. So yeah, they're obviously trying to deter people doing that. They don't want people, going out buying a large contract on resale at a better value and then just, buying the token 25, 50 points direct.
Well, and that seems to be, because that was the advice forever, right? Everybody would be like, oh, go buy 50 direct points and then buy the rest in resale. And Disney's kind of seeming to be tired of that.
and I mean, yes, absolutely. Yeah, they definitely want more people to buy direct. But I also see it too as, everyone treats these things as, it's some insidious plot by them to, screw us all over. But
it's a slight directed directly at them, right?
Yeah, but realistically too is, they also want to control this, right? This is their way of exacting control over how much DVC they're selling, how fast they're selling it. Because I mean, on the flip side, they don't necessarily want a bunch of people with small contracts using this either, right? They're trying to deter that. I think they're trying to say, yeah, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are in this market for it, but maybe they're shifting who their target audience is for DVC by adjusting the points, right?
Exactly, and I think you're exactly right, and I don't blame Disney for this. I don't think that this is, like you said, kind of like not a slight at every in anybody, at any group in particular, right? But this is the whole thing's interesting to me because I think every time I always joke that it's the outrage of the week, right? There's always this thing that comes out. And this one was weird to me because I feel like a lot of people didn't understand it. A lot of people thought, like, oh, I bought resale, so I'm losing everything. And it's like, no, if you were a current owner and you already had those benefits, you're not losing anything, right? So there was a lot of panic of people. It's like, I got to buy a 25-point contract. But I think we should make it clear, basically, you're grandfathered into this if you bought resale before April 4th, 2016, or if you bought 25 or more points direct prior to 2/25/18. So that's basically kind of the setup of this. If you bought any sort of purchase prior to March 21st, 2011, you're eligible for all the benefits still. If you purchased anything, any resale direct purchases between March 21st, 2011 and 4/3/16, you're still eligible for all these things with the exception of the concierge collection. It's really just if it's between the 4/4/16 and 2/24/18 and you're buying resales when you're not eligible for it, right? And so anybody that already had these benefits, you already have them, right? But going forward, if you don't have that 75-point spot direct, you are not going to have those membership benefits. So it really kind of comes down to, do you feel like these things are worth it, right? Do you feel like, because a lot of people buy resale and don't care that they don't get the membership extras.
Yeah, and I mean, the membership extras are like you still... What is it that are considered membership extras? It's like the discounts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
Discounts. Like the lounges, right? So,
anybody can use the lounge though. So this is where it's kind of skewed, right? Is that you can, even if you bought resale, you can still use the lounge, which I think that's kind of a bigger thing for a lot of people, is that having access to the lounge. But yeah, not being able to use the discount and. I'm sorry, I can't even remember what all the other extras are at this point. But again, I think part of the message, too, that they reinforced as well is that, your extras, if you're buying into this because you want the extras, you're buying in for the wrong reason.
Yes. Yeah, that's a totally great point. And I think that's something that gets lost in all this stuff is you should not be buying into DVC for the membership extras.
Yeah, because they've even said it themselves. These things change all the time. The deals that they offer, like, the deals that they've had on annual passes and even the DVC discounts, those can shift at any given time. And so you can't, go into this going, for the next 5 years, I've got a 20% discount on all of my dining, because they could decide in 6 months that, that you don't get that anymore. And
yeah.
And really, I think that the larger message here is that, you know, with all these changes is, it's stopping people from, you know, kind of gaming the system, but also you need to look at it purely from the standpoint of DVC is for your accommodations. If you feel that there's enough value there to, you know, buy into it so that you can have those accommodations with the points every year, then yes, you should go for it. Everything else that comes with it, that's a total bonus. If there's not enough value there for you, then obviously DVC is not the best choice for you, and you should maybe be looking at, you know, package deals and stuff like that instead. So
yeah, and just to kind of list a couple of the membership extras, you know, we talked about the lounge, and I just was looking at the lounge, and it does say specifically on here that, you know, anybody that buys after the 25th will need the 75 points in order to get a membership card, and they won't let you up unless you have the membership card. So
okay,
just making sure that, I clear that up. But things like, you know, Moonlight Magic, the discounts, the special member tours, that kind of stuff, you need the blue card for, right? So
right.
That's basically what you're losing with that. And you know, personally, I find those benefits to be pretty valuable for me. But you know, I know that there's a lot of value with resale too, and it's, you know, like we were talking about, it really just kind of depends on what's more valuable to you, right? Do you want those extra benefits for, you know, as long as they're going to be? But you shouldn't buy in based on that anyway, because as we said, they change all the time, and you know that member lounge was supposed to be for a year, and they keep extending it,
yep.
Right? So who knows when that's going to end? I mean, after 2018, that might just be gone. I mean, who knows, right?
And I mean, the thing people have been asking for too is more member lounges. But what I could see happening is that they say, we're going to give you a new member lounge, and then they'll shut down the Epcot one, because the other thing with all these membership extras that people get hung up on is that they all do come with a cost. And so this may be boring for a lot of people. You can skip over this part of the podcast if you don't like it.
Fast forward.
Yeah. I did read through all this when I bought my DVC, is that DVC makes it very clear that they're not part of Walt Disney World, as in, like, they're not just a division, they are a separate company. So anything that they do with, you know, getting you a lounge on property or Moonlight Magic, there actually is some negotiation between DVC and Disney, or Disney World itself. So they have to negotiate, and they have to, you know, pay for, like, they have a budget and they have to pay for, you know, these things to happen. So, you know, where people complain about, you know, what are my dues going towards? Well, membership extras are part of what your dues go towards. There is Absolutely. Maintenance, there is all that stuff, but, you know, you want more stuff, but you know, all these extra benefits, but you having these extra benefits means either you're paying more dues or something has to be sacrificed somewhere else.
Yeah, or you're paying more up front, or, you know, whatever you're going to pay, you're going to end up paying for it no matter what, right? So that's what it comes down to. It's no matter what, you're going to end up paying for it. There's, you know, DVC and Disney is not here to give us free things. I know, like, that's kind of how people feel. Is like, oh, well, I own DVC, so I'm entitled to all this, right? Well, it's, you know, it all costs money. It all costs, you know. There are people that man those DVC lounges. You know, it's the things that are up there are not free. There's drinks that cost money for them to provide. Now, given is it not a lot of money, and do they get a lot of impact for it? Absolutely, right? But and that's why they do those things, right? And it's not like it's something that's making them money having that. I don't think anybody buys DVC going, "Ooh, I get access to the Epcot lounge." Like, I don't think anybody does that. But, you know, at the same time, they are attractive and they are nice things to have as part of this. So I do think it's interesting they're making this change. I don't know what kind of impact it's going to have. I definitely want to reach out to Nick at DVC Resale Market, because I saw a couple people, you know, predicting the end of the world, saying it was going to, you know, destroy resale prices and, you know, destroy their investment. And now their timeshare is not worth anything anymore. And, you know, but I would love to see kind of how this does affect the resale market. And see if, I kind of don't know if it would drive prices up or down in the resale market. I feel like people that have decided that the benefits are not important to them have already decided that. And this is not going to change that for them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm interested to see what happens with this.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, well, I guess really, we've got a week before this comes into play. We'll see how things change after that, right? Is, you know, and you're right. This is a good time to talk to Nick and to people who are in the resale market and kind of see how how the feeling is after this change comes into effect, of course.
And I do have to say, so Nick did write a article on his website that I actually did share on our page about this. So, and I forgot that I put that on the page. So let me bring that up really quickly here, because I think he put some really interesting things in here. That about just kind of how this is going to affect things, and it really kind of, it seems like he has a section on here that says, should I purchase Disney Vacation Club with reliance upon membership extras? The answer is no. That's basically how he starts it out. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but it's really important. He also puts in here, the incidental benefits described in the statement are offered to prospective purchasers of the vacation ownership plan. These benefits are available for your use of a period of 3 years or less after the first date that the vacation ownership plan is available for use. So you don't know when these things are going to still be available to you. If you were looking to add on direct to get the benefits, then sure, maybe you would be a little bit concerned about that. But really, it's not as big of a thing as we feel like it was online, I feel like. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you're that hung up between, purchasing 50 points versus 75 points, I mean, it's a 25-point difference. And if that amount of money is a deal breaker for you, then, I mean, at that point, you're already putting in a fairly sizable amount of money for DVC, or I would assume you are, I guess. I can't speak for everybody.
Absolutely.
But I would think at that point, I mean, again, yeah, you have to evaluate, is that extra money worth the benefits? And if it's not, then, you just go without. And you still have a place to stay, you still have points, and yeah.
Exactly. And I would encourage all of you, if you're concerned about this, to go onto our Facebook page. I linked this to there, but Nick even has a chart on here that kind of shows you an example of what joining with 200 points at Animal Kingdom with receiving membership extras, and kind of the difference between joining without the extras, joining prior to 225 with the extras, and joining after 225 with extras, and kind of the different savings amount. And it still comes out that of course, that resale is a better value than all of those things. So look into it more. It really, this is one of those things where this is the eternal question, right? Do you buy resale or do you buy direct? And there's no one good answer to it, but
yep.
It really just kind of depends on your individual situation and kind of some of the things that you are looking for. So I think we've talked about that probably enough, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's pretty extensive. And yeah, I mean, let's move on. Of course, yeah, we always love hearing feedback on this from our listeners. So if anybody has any thoughts on this, feel free to email us or whatever, and we'll of course bring these things up if or whatever we hear that sounds like good information.
Yeah, I mean, we get told all the time that we're wrong, so and we're happy to talk about that, because listen, we're not even though we do a DVC podcast, we are not saying that we're DVC experts and we know the best way to do everything here, but we do try to give our opinions on these things and give you our best kind of feelings on how things go. So, it's an interesting topic, and truthfully, I don't know if we're really going to know the impacts of it until this change actually takes place and we actually know how it's going to look. So,
exactly. This next
right?
one, though,
this next one does affect a lot of us, right?
Yeah, I do actually care about this one because I do have an annual pass.
Okay, well, do you want to start off talking about it then? Because I don't have an annual pass anymore. So
right, so the annual pass price has gone up for Disneyland and Disney World. The thing people need to keep in mind with this is that this happens every single year. Every year about this time, they raise ticket prices and annual pass prices and all that stuff. So
pretty much,
I'm not too shocked by this. And the reason that I know this is that, yes, it's been a lifelong dream to have an annual pass to Disney. And when I had the opportunity to buy one last year, I was over the moon about it. And I've been looking into it for years. There's always that, there's that comparison of, for the amount of time that you're staying there versus, the cost of an annual pass. Is it worth it? And the thing is that when the annual passes go up, like I said, although they don't always go up the exact same amount, the annual passes and the tickets do tend to kind of climb up at the same time. So you can always make that comparison, I guess, between them. Now to give a bit of detail on what we actually saw for this. So the average price increase was about 9% across the board for the annual passes. So the Platinum Pass and the Platinum Pass Plus, which are the only ones that are offered to the general public. Outside of that, there is also the Gold Pass, which the Gold Pass is specific to DVC and Florida residents. So if you are a DVC member, you do have the option for the Gold Pass. And that one only went up by 5%, which is obviously a better deal. So, if you have a Gold Pass, maybe you might want to keep that at this point. Single day tickets went up, or actually, I guess, single days most people wouldn't care about. It's only about 2 to 3%. 2 to 3% increase. Multi-day tickets went up. Interesting that the 4-day ticket went up the same amount as the annual pass, so about a 9%. But then past that, the ticket prices dropped back down again, and then so like for a 5, 6, 7-day ticket, it actually goes from 9% and comes back down to 1% increase. So I guess if you're planning to stay there for a week and you've only got one trip throughout the year, the 7-day tickets or 6-day plus tickets are your best bet at this point because they've seen the least amount of increase. But annual pass and the shorter stay tickets all saw that larger increase. So I don't know what that actually says. Is that, maybe Disney's saying, we want you here for a week and that's it? Or
I mean, a week or longer, right? So,
yeah, but not multiple times a year either, right? Like that's
true. I did want to note too that Park Hopper, the price did not change for Park Hopper tickets for 4 to 10 day tickets, and did increase for 2 to 3 day tickets for Park Hoppers, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, I think again that this goes back to my point earlier about Disney does things sometimes with the intent of shaping people's behaviors, I guess. So
totally.
Look, and that's why, like, when you look at these price increases, is that it's very clear that when you're looking at the multi-day tickets, they don't want you here for 3 or 4 days. 4 days seems to be the one that they're trying to deter the most because it's had the biggest jump. But everything past that is you can stay here for up to 10 days, and the value is still just about the same. But they
incentivize you for staying longer.
Yeah, but not too long because they don't.
Well, and I guess the good news here, the headline for DVC members is that the annual passes for DVC members went up the least amount percentage-wise of the annual passes, right? So while the regular ones all went up 9% for the most part, the DVC ones were 5% for gold and for gold renewal, 7% for platinum new and platinum renewal, and 8% for platinum new, platinum plus new, and platinum plus renewal. So it still went down low. I mean, it still went up, less than just the regular annual passes did. And so, they had that really great, DVC had that really fantastic offer too last year for annual passes. So, it's totally possible they could have that again.
Well, and this is the thing, is that for anyone that's wondering, like, even when I joined DVC, the guy that I talked to, he was telling me at the time that they had a promo on where it was like you could buy a single day ticket, and it was like crazy discounted, and so people bought up like 5 or 6 days worth of single day tickets and did that. And that was the previous year before I joined. And he was saying, oh yeah, they had this deal, but you have to kind of keep an eye out for these deals. The same thing happened with the Platinum Pass deal, going from the Gold Pass to the Platinum Pass for free. It seems like they put these deals out, and it'll be a limited window. And I honestly, this year, I'm not banking on there being another deal like what I saw last year. Like, I'm expecting it to be something totally different, and it may or may not be something that's worthwhile to me. But yeah, it seems that they're deliberately not. They're deliberately not putting these deals out so that there's a pattern, or so that there's a way that people can, figure out how to capitalize on it. Yeah, exactly. But Still, though, like I said, yeah, if you go enough that an annual pass is warranted, definitely being a DVC or a Florida resident will get you more bang for your buck this year.
For sure. And I like you said, these things happen every single year. This is not anything that anybody should have been surprised about, right? And part of me thinks that this is probably, I would assume that this is in preparation for, Star Wars Land / Toy Story Land. I don't know if they're going to make I'm wondering if do you think the tickets go up big next year when they do it? I mean, because this is not that it's small, but it could be worse, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I don't, it's hard to say, I mean, part of it is, yeah, they may put the ticket prices up because they know that, there will be that huge rush of people, and the people that really want to see it will pay the extra. So
of course, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think they may do that, and it also kind of deters people. Even for myself, is next year I'm planning my trip in a way that I will be there early in the year, and so we'll get to see Toy Story Land, but Star Wars Land I'm not going to go until well into 2020 because I just want to avoid all the craziness around launch, and I know Damon is probably listening to this and upset that that I said that, but I can't deal with the crazy crowds when stuff like that launches. So.
And it's funny. So like in 2019, that's the time to go see Toy Story Land because everybody will be at Star Wars Land, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do think I would if I were a betting man, I would say that the single day price for Hollywood Studios goes through the roof next year. That would be my guess. To deter some of those single day tickets. They would much rather have those longer stays. I would bet that goes much higher towards like a Magic Kingdom level to accommodate that.
Well, and I think too, it kind of depends on what state Hollywood Studios is in at the time. Because right now it's I think they're trying to just get people in there because it's really a half-day park right now, right? There's just
5
so much
rides available. Yeah, there's 5 rides open.
Yeah, there's so much construction, so they want to try and attract people there, but it's going to be different. Yeah, as Hollywood Studios is going to have the same problem that Animal Kingdom had when Pandora opened. Is that you're literally going to have a lineup of people waiting to get into the new land. And the whole place is just going to be bonkers because of it. So
that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be crazy. And I think I've said this before on this show that, if you take economics 101, what Disney's doing here is pretty much basic supply and demand. The parks are still extremely popular. They can pretty much charge what they want for them without really hurting their demand all that much. And so this is kind of this is what they're doing. It doesn't surprise me in the least. Sure, is it more expensive to go to the parks now? Yes, but it's how it's going to keep going, and it's not like Disney's alone in this. Universal keeps upping their prices every year too. It's it's pretty similar there too. So, but yeah,
I mean. Honestly, look, if you look at the amount of money that they put into Star Wars Land, I'm sure they want to get their money back on that, and then some.
Of course,
I mean, it's like you said, it is very basic economics at this point. And I mean, I don't know about you, but if I had the golden ticket to Star Wars at you're basically selling Star Wars, I would be pretty confident about saying I can tell you how much you're going to pay for this, because I mean, I think Disney knows at this point that it's a very it's a unique anomaly in terms of media and entertainment and all that you're never going to see anything else like it.
That's exactly right. It's you're totally right about that. So, and basically they can, like you said, they can tell you exactly what you're going to pay this much because you love Star Wars, and so there's no way you're not going to go to Star Wars, right? So.
Yeah, and for the rest of us, I mean, so I should say this. I do love Star Wars. I absolutely love Star Wars, but I hate crowds. So, I mean, for those of you that absolutely love Star Wars and all have to be there in the same spot, props to you. Fill your boots. I will be somewhere else.
I can't do the crowds either, but
yep.
I had to do Pandora when I was there, and but
yeah, we did it too. And honestly, I didn't even spend a lot of time in there. We went and we did our fast pass, and we looked around. I did walk around there, and it's beautiful. It's an amazing area that they created, but I kind of hit a point too where it was like there's just too many people around, and I left, and I didn't come back there.
I get it. I totally get that. So, just to move on to some more park stuff, there was a D23 in Japan, actually.
Yes.
And D23 in Japan, Disney decided they were going to talk about a lot of Disney World stuff, in addition to a lot of stuff going on at the rest of the parks around the world. But one of the things that they confirmed, and, we've been talking about this for, I don't know, as long as this podcast has been around, we've been talking about this for the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, right?
That's been on the books for a while.
And so Disney finally confirmed that this is going to be a roller coaster. They're saying it will use an innovative ride system, and that it's going to be one of the longest indoor roller coasters in the entire world. That's pretty amazing. That makes me a little more excited for it. But it's also being described as a family ride, I noticed. So I don't know if that means lower speeds. We've talked about this before, about how there's not going to be necessarily inversions. Rumored, that's not confirmed yet either, of course. But they did say it was scheduled to be open in time for the 2021 anniversary. So I just thought that was interesting that they finally confirmed that it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, and I think, again, this is just their planning, right? They don't want to tell you everything up front because they want us to talk about it and they want us to, speculate. But also
theories and rumors.
Yeah. But also, too, I honestly don't think... I think part of it is, with some of these things is that I like to believe that, Disney has a roadmap like 10 years out, but... I think sometimes they start these things and then they're forced to change them, or something happens that they go, this actually isn't going to be feasible, and then they have to shift the entire direction that the ride or the attraction is going to go. And we've seen that. Actually, I saw that a lot with California Adventure in Disneyland. That budget kind of killed that park when it first came around. So I think they definitely don't want to, they don't want to sell you on, this is going to be a roller coaster, and then you get there and it's just like a dark ride. And
well, and to your point, a lot of the blogs out there were saying that a new Epcot pavilion was a done deal. It was going to be Brazil. I believe it was Brazil, because it was going to be based around that movie that they were working on called Gigantic.
Mm-hmm. And that fell through.
And exactly, that fell through because Disney actually canceled the production of that movie. They said they couldn't make it work. It wasn't going where they wanted to go, so they canceled it. And supposedly, because they canceled it, that kind of threw a wrench in everything else at Epcot. So that's really not everything else, but just that pavilion they were going to add at Epcot, that kind of really messed up those plans. So yeah, to your point, and I think that stuff does happen too. I mean, who knows? Maybe they were designing this roller coaster for a different intellectual property, or maybe they were designing it just as an original attraction, and then Guardians of the Galaxy became something that they weren't expecting, and then they're like, okay, well, we can make this also Guardians of the Galaxy, right? So I don't know, maybe that's how it is. I who knows? But it does seem interesting, and it does seem like it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, and the fact that they say it's going to be a family ride, all that says to me is like, so I guess from my point of view, and I know, again, this is not how everybody sees it, but when I look at Disney roller coasters, like, Big Thunder, Space Mountain, those are family rides to me. But then if you go over to Universal, they've got rides like Hulk and what was the other one? Dueling Dragons, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I think that one's closed now, though.
Yeah,
I think that just closed. But before, you're to your point, yeah.
Yeah, they've got these larger, like the really ridiculous roller coasters that have got like 100-foot drops and like multiple inversions. Which, that's not to say that you can't have a family coaster that has multiple inversions, but some of these roller coasters are just way too extreme, and they really eliminate a lot of the younger demographic because of it. Like, I know my son, he was the first time we went on California Screaming in Disneyland, he looked at it and he was all on board for it, and then when we actually did it, he realized that it was a lot bigger than what he thought it was, and it kind of it turned him off a little bit. He was a little more cautious because everything up to that point had been, like Big Thunder, Space Mountain.
But I feel like even Big Thunder tricks you, because that like two of the lift hills in that ride are hidden pretty much. Like two of the right when you go out of the station, you go right down into the dark basically, and you had no idea that was there. And the first lift hill you can't really see from the outside. So I feel like they do that kind of stuff all the time where they like to hide it, you know. Well,
yeah, but the thing is though is that when you come out of that, like the first lift hill is not a straight down drop or anything. It's, lots of turns, and it's a lot more. It's gentle in that you can get the whole family on it, and everybody's going to be cool with it because it's still fun, it's still exciting, but it's not that over the top that you get at Universal, right? So
it's something I would go on. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. I mean, maybe you'll end up on this before Space Mountain. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
they're both in the dark. So
I'm definitely going to go on Space Mountain. I have to see what this thing is going to be before I can really make that determination. So.
And honestly, I mean, for me, it's the fact that it's a long roller coaster is interesting. I wonder how they're going to manage this without this thing being like. I mean, when I look at Space Mountain, like Space Mountain is a pretty big roller coaster, and it's all enclosed inside of this building, but it's a lot of really like windy, like twists and turns and quick drops and all that kind of stuff. I'm wondering if they're going to do that, or if they're going to figure out a way to actually stretch it out so that this thing, gets some room to do some longer runs and stuff like that. But
I tend to think, just based on what we've seen, where it's going to be a lot of kind of like Space Mountain in the way where there's going to be a lot of the projections that are making, like show scenes basically that are making you think you're going faster, or maybe parts where you even stop for a second and something happens. But I mean, they are building a massive show building for this thing, so it makes sense to me that it's one of the longest, because it's going to be an absolutely huge roller coaster when they do build this. It's just I don't really know. I'm interested that they're only not leaking, but putting out little small things about this here and there. It is interesting to me.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this comes back to is they know for sure it's going to be a roller coaster, but yeah, they're also not going to tell you everything up front so that people go, oh, we know everything about it, and now we just wait 2 years until it happens. I mean, they're going to trickle stuff out. But also, like I said, I think part of it, too, is, they don't want to sell you on something that they sounded good on paper, but when they actually started doing it, they realized that they had to shift gears and, redesign the whole thing because it didn't make sense the way that they were doing it. Also, the fact that they're saying it's one of the longest indoor roller coasters, if they had said that up front and then it turned out that, oh, actually we had to cut out a third of the ride because of this reason, that, people would have gone, really? So maybe it's a matter of, this is kind of Disney's way of under-promising and over-delivering.
That's what they do all the time. They do that with wait times. If you, those of you that don't know, I think I've talked about this on the show before. I caught a glimpse one time at one of the Fast Pass screens, and then I asked the cast member about it. They have an actual wait time and a displayed wait time, and the actual wait time is almost always lower than the displayed wait time. Because the whole idea of that is if you see a half hour, but it only takes 15 minutes, you're like, oh, this is great. It only took 15 minutes.
Bonus. Haha.
Yeah,
I cheated the system.
Exactly. You feel like you've gotten something, even though, really, in reality, the wait was only 15 minutes anyway. But, it's the whole under-promising and over-delivering thing. So, anyway, that's an aside. But so let's go on to this next thing, though, too. Mm-hmm. Because I remember when this first got talked about, there was a lot of skepticism. We had somebody on our show right after D23 when this was announced, and a lot of us thought that, oh, how are they going to do this? Like, how's this going to work? Like, and this was originally a survey. And so what I'm talking about is the Star Wars Hotel. It is definitely happening. They have said this again. They have put it out there again. They've said that it's going to be, connected directly to Star Wars Galaxy Edge, or Star Wars Land, as everyone's going to call it. Basically, who's going to call it Galaxy's Edge, right?
I can't even remember that. It's Star Wars Land.
It's going to be Star Wars Land always. That's what it is. But what they said is, at the resort, guests immediately become active citizens of the galaxy, can dress up in the proper attire. Every resort window will have a view into space. The opportunity for immersion at this resort will also stand out among all Disney resorts around the globe, as it will be seamlessly connected to Star Wars Galaxy Edge at Hollywood Studios, allowing guests a total Star Wars experience. So it seems like they're committed to doing this. The question is, when would this open, and how is this going to work? How are they going to connect it? Because we have pictures of the construction site. I don't see a hotel being built anywhere.
Well, I don't think like you're going to see Star Wars Land open, and I think then you will very shortly after that see construction happening for the hotel.
I think you're right.
Because I think they want to get everything situated for this, and then what'll be really interesting is that, like, I know a lot of people who have vlogs and stuff. They go and they look at like the construction around these areas and whatever. And so far, all we can see is like on Grand Avenue at Hollywood Studios. You know, they're looking at, oh, there's this entrance to Galaxy's Edge, and I can bet you once Galaxy's Edge opens up, everyone's going to tour around it, and then all of a sudden it's going to be, oh, well, there's this other gate over here that's just, you know, it's a gate and it obviously goes somewhere, but it doesn't connect back to Hollywood Studios. And then I bet that's where you're going to see all of this construction. Like I feel like, you know, they have a plan for this, and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be it's a tiered thing, right? You know, that like you're going to have a couple more years before this hotel is built. And so that's going to give them a lot of time for people to, you know, sink in, first of all, that Star Wars Land is there. And then once people get over the initial hype of Star Wars Land and, you know, it starts to die down, then here's this experience on top of it, which is just going to drag everybody back into it and, you know, bring us to new levels of Star Wars hype that I don't think we could have ever imagined.
I have to say, I think this might be the boldest thing that Disney's ever attempted. Mm-hmm. I mean, who else has ever? This is like a completely new concept. They're inventing something that doesn't exist. I mean, that's right.
A themed hotel. Well, I guess it's not even just a themed hotel.
It's complete immersion. Immersion, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things, right? Because, you know, I think this kind of goes in line with in the last couple of years, or at least what I've seen is, you know, escape rooms have been a thing that have popped up a lot. And the interesting thing about those is that, you know, or anybody that hasn't done an escape room is, you know, you go to a place, they literally lock you in a room and you have an hour to escape from the room and you solve a bunch of puzzles to do so. But the rooms are always themed that, you know, there's a story behind it and you're kind of like involved in the story. And I've actually been to a couple where they've done not just escape rooms, but they've actually had actors in there as well that are engaging you. So while you're, you know, figuring stuff out, they're giving you information, or that you have to, you know, talk to them. And that's where I can see this going, is that, it's almost like a live action video game, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting, and I'm glad that Disney's doing it. I'm glad that they're taking initiative on this, because this may, you know, set the bar for just entertainment in general, right? Is, you know, it's not going to be a passive thing where, you know, you're just standing there watching a show. You're actually going to be doing this stuff.
What's really interesting about this too is they've talked a lot about the system that they're going to set up where you can build your reputation. I want, you know, and that your interactions with the land are going to be different based on what your reputation is. I'm wondering if there are things you're going to be able to do in the hotel that'll also affect that, right? Like activities that'll happen, or, you know, tasks that you have to do on the ship/hotel that, you know, contribute to kind of what your reputation is in the park, like shapes your experience differently. I don't know. There's so many possibilities with this, and it just, the whole thing's kind of mind-blowing, but it is kind of cool to see that they're talking more about it, because there's been pretty little news about this since D23, and so I think some people were getting a little worried that it was going to get canceled, because they really haven't talked about it at all. But I think it's one of those things, like you said, they're so focused on all the other projects they have going on right now. This one still feels like it's very much in development, but it does seem like it's going to happen. So,
and like I said, that to me, for them, they want to make sure people have this in the back of their head. But, you know, just the fact that Toy Story Land is opening up, and then Galaxy's Edge is going to open up right after that. There's going to be so many people in the parks just experiencing those as they are. If they threw up this hotel at the same time, you would have people, you know, I mean, it would, like, Star Wars Land is already going to be bonkers as it is for the first year or so. Having a hotel full of people that are specifically there for that would just be it would be way too much, right?
It would be way too much. Yeah, and they probably also want to wait. I mean, it's going to take time even for the actors that are working in Star Wars Land to get acclimated to everything, and they're probably going to need to get into a groove. There's going to be a testing period just for the land in general, like you're talking about, and so they probably don't want to put their very high-paying guests that are going to do this experience through kind of some of that awkward
growing
phase
pains.
of a park. Yeah, because I mean, Pandora is still going through growing pains. Is still they still have issues with breakdowns, not as much as they used to, and they've gotten into a better flow. But I mean, it takes a while for that stuff to get together. No matter how prepared you are, once you can't really figure these things out until you have guests, until you have the rides running. There's no way to know how things are going to go, right? So, I think that's part of it too. Is they want to make sure that everything is where it needs to be for that. So.
Yeah, and like when you were talking about how they're gonna have your reputation affected, is my first thought is how quickly can I get the First Order mad at me, and I think there's gonna they have to really make sure that they think their way through this, because I'm sure there's people out there like me that are going to go, well, how bad can you make this go, right? So,
well, that's exactly what I would want to do. I would want to I'd want to pretend that I was a rebel for a while and then turn on them, be like, oh, I snitched on you guys, and now here's some stormtroopers, and I don't know.
Yeah, they would have to really account for all those things, or how controlled would it be? I guess, would you actually have the choice to do that, or once you get far enough into it, they just kind of have textbooks responses to things? But yeah, it would be funny as you kind of you do a whole bunch of stuff, and then you go, oops, sorry, I wanted to hang out with the First Order, and then
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of fun things that can be done with this.
Oh yeah, like I said, I think these I think it has a ton of potential, and I'm glad that they're definitely continuing to let us know about it, but I'll wait and see how it all pans out after we get past this these next couple of crazy years of new development that they already have going on.
Exactly. And and another thing talked about at D23, a ride that I am personally very excited about, and I think you are too, Trevor.
Oh, yes.
Being that, I'm very excited about this, is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and they confirmed, the only new information we heard at D23 was confirming that this ride was going to be open in 2019, which is great for that park. But I'm just excited about this. They also shared some more concept art that actually appears to show the ride vehicles as well, which look like train cars. The concept art does make me hopeful there's going to be some sort of animatronic Goofy driving the train, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's going to be opening in 2019. So I think that's really exciting.
Well, and like I said, this goes back to what I was just saying. Let's look at what you've got coming up just for Hollywood Studios. You've got Toy Story Land opening this year in June. You've got Mickey and Minnie's opening in 2019, which is not a whole land, but it's a new ride, and it's the first actual Mickey Mouse ride. That's huge.
Absolutely.
And then after that, you have Star Wars Land, that whole park. And that's just all in Hollywood Studios. So that whole park is basically going to be revitalized over the next 2 years, and is going to go from being, that half-day park that people kind of tack on with Epcot or Animal Kingdom to this is where you want to be for your trip, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. I 100% believe that Hollywood Studios will become the second highest attended park, next year. I mean, that's it's totally going to go above, Epcot and Animal Kingdom. It's just going to fly right past that. I don't know if it's going to be Magic Kingdom. I mean, I guess it could. But that would be crazy if it did.
I think for a little bit, because here's the thing, is kind of like even when Pandora opened, is that you're going to see crowd volumes that are going to be absolutely crazy. It's not going to be the entire park, but yeah, they're going to see way more attention than Magic Kingdom, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think honestly, Magic Kingdom is Magic Kingdom and will always be Magic Kingdom, but
yep.
I think letting some of the other parks have this level of attention is definitely a great thing. And the selfish side of me also says, great, you all can go hang out at at Hollywood Studios, and I'll be at Magic Kingdom.
Well, and I also have to say, too, if the rumors are to be believed, for Disney technology nerds like you and I, this will be one of the first applications of the Disney trackless technology at Disney World.
Yes.
This is, which, it is an amazing thing. Although this is going to be beat by the alien swirling saucers, that's going to be, it's the same technology is going to be used there. But it seems like it's going to, that technology is really going to kind of take over Disney World over the next couple of years, it seems like. But, I'm excited to see that.
This is on the same level as like Ratatouille, right? Which we also are getting Ratatouille, but yeah, this is going to be the first. The trackless cars, I've already seen those at in Disneyland at California Adventure, and they're cool. But again, they're just in a little arena where they're just kind of driving around each other. It's fun, and it's like teacups, right? You get in them, they spin and all that. But when you actually have them as part of a larger experience, they can really help with, allowing them to do things that would seem crazy on a traditional trackless ride, I guess, or like a normal dark ride. Yeah.
And that's, what's been reported for this Mickey and Minnie, I can't speak apparently. This Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is, it's been talked about that this is going to start off as a train, where the cars are all in line, and then at different points the cars are all going to switch around and move around and do all sorts of crazy things that you could not do with a traditional ride system. So that's what's exciting about these kinds of applications. And if you really want to see what it can really do and what it's going to really look like, I would go on YouTube and look at Mystic Manor. That's one of the coolest rides I've ever seen, let alone Disney rides. And I feel like not a lot of Disney fans know about Mystic Manor. And that thing is incredible to watch what it can do. And so it just makes me think the possibilities are endless for this ride. So, and
Mystic Manor is at Disney Tokyo, correct? I believe it's Tokyo. Yes.
It's their version of the Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
They did it that way because there's some cultural things with ghosts. So they decided not to kind of do it's got spirits kind of, but it's a little bit different. So
they're not ghosts in the same way that the ghosts are in Haunted Mansion. Exactly. And yes, you're right. It is absolutely a cultural thing with Japan. So, but yeah, it's a very cool ride, and I'm super excited to see that make its way over here.
Yeah, and another thing that they announced too, that's actually not coming to America, that made me really jealous. And I don't know if you looked at this concept art, but I was like, man, that just looks cool. And this is something they can't do at Disney World as of this moment, but maybe someday. And that's, they are building at Hong Kong Disneyland. They're going to be building a Ant-Man and Wasp ride. So you don't love Ant-Man as a property, but as far as the ride goes, the ride looks cool.
Yeah, I don't even see this as, a trackless ride. I feel like it's just, an updated version of Buzz Lightyear. This is what it really looks like to me. And also, I will point out that the guns look, they remind me of the difference between the Buzz Lightyear guns in California versus Orlando. Because in Orlando, the Buzz Lightyear guns are bolted onto the chair and you can't really move them around. Whereas in California, you can actually pick the guns up and move them around as you see fit. Like they're attached by a cable. So it looks to me like it's going to be like that.
Well, and actually, it looks like I found a previous article about this, and we actually probably talked about this on a previous podcast and totally forgot about it. So this actually got announced last year that it is replacing Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters. So I'm thinking it's maybe just an overlay. It kind of looks like it's an overlay type of situation. So yeah, it is just like Buzz Lightyear pretty much. So.
And I guess that also plays into the next the next thing that they were talking about as well, is that Rock and Roller Coaster is going to get an Iron Man overlay in Disney Studios Paris. So so not in not in Orlando, which I would love that. But it looks like they're going to do the same thing over there. Which this is also them just trying to push the Marvel IPs out.
Put the
I
IPs
guess.
out there.
Yeah,
and that park struggles. That's one of a lot of people say that's one of the worst Disney parks out there, and Disney really just kind of took over. I think they took over complete ownership of it. So I think this is them trying to inject some life into it, basically.
Yeah. They just really got back into it like just this last year. So for a long time, the park was run independently. So now that they have control over it again, it definitely sounds like there was a culture gap with Disneyland Paris that they weren't treating it the same as Disney in North America. So it sounds like they're starting to get back to actually running it like a proper Disney park, which is great overall, because it means that we have more places to go that are other than Disneyland and Disney World, right? So
and this goes to show you though too that if Disney could do it, they would blow up Marvel at Disney World. Like there'd be Marvel if they could make it happen. But I also look at this too, and forever it's been rumored that they're going to change Rock and Roller Coaster into a Monsters Inc. themed ride, where it's going to be like the doors in the factory, which would be really cool. And I still think they should do that, but I thought it was interesting that they're redoing Rock and Roller Coaster like this. I feel like it doesn't bode well for the one at Hollywood Studios.
And somebody did. I read this. I think it was on Reddit. I saw somebody made a comment that the thing is that a lot of the stuff that's at Hollywood Studios is actually remnants of MGM. So Rock and Roller Coaster is one of those things that it's. It was an MGM thing. That the reason that they had an agreement with Aerosmith was through MGM, and so I think Disney is trying to look at these things and go, well, what can we take and what can we, replace it with our own IPs, because we don't want to keep paying these guys licensing and all that kind of stuff. And also too is it updates the park. It gets it a little more relevant to what Disney's actually doing, which isn't bad. I mean, I love Rock and Roller Coaster. I think it's a fun ride, and I mean the little blurb at the beginning with Aerosmith is cute, but it's even at the point now where like the cast members kind of joke and read the lines like I've seen it a couple of times on podcasts and stuff where or not on podcasts but on people's vlogs where the people are like they ask Aerosmith for fast or backstage passes, and then they come back and like continue with the lines, and so it's become very campy, I guess, at this point. Which
that reminds me of like Country Bear Jamboree when you go to that at Disney World, and like they have the little interaction with the characters, and it's like sometimes they're into it, and other times they're just like, okay, I read this like 40 times today, and I'm kind of tired of doing it, and it's been done forever, like that kind of thing. So and
even the same thing at the Tiki Room, right? Is when at the beginning of the shows, they tell Jose to wake up, and some cast members are like, they're very excited about it, and other ones are like, wake up, Jose.
Wake up, Jose, you're gonna do this again.
I mean that's not cool, because that's Walt's thing, and they should really respect it. But I mean, I'm not going to get on them too hard for it. But like, going back to Rock and Roller Coaster, it's I'm glad that they're looking at it at Paris, and maybe they figure because that park is not as busy that's a good place to try this overlay. And also the fact too is that if they actually did this at Orlando right now, if they said, we're going to close down Rock and Roller Coaster because we want to overlay it with something, now you have one less ride in a park that's already
has no rides.
Already under way too much construction as it is. So
and that's I would, if I had to make a bet, I would say after Star Wars Land opens, then they do that, because then they'll have all this other stuff, and that can distract from that while they work on doing the overlay there. That's what would be my bet.
So my prediction is that they won't even wait until Star Wars Land opens. So I think that they're not even going to wait until Star Wars Land opens. They're actually going to do it either after Toy Story opens, so later this year, or after Mickey's Runaway Rail opens. I can see them closing down Rock and Roller Coaster.
You know what? I could see that too. I could see that once Toy Story Land opens, they could probably justify getting that done.
Yeah. Because hey, it's an even swap. Is they open up a new roller coaster and then they take away the other roller coaster.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
+1 -1. It all works out.
So in the same Hollywood Studios vein, we talked last week about a rumor that Hollywood Studios was going to be renamed into Cinemagine. That was the name, right? It was
Cinnamon Bun.
Disney's Cinnamon Bun Park. So Disney, I guess, saw that this was out there and decided in a weird move. I feel like they never do this kind of stuff where they address rumors like this, but they provided an update about Toy Story Land, and during that they confirmed, and this is a quote from the Disney press release: the Disney Hollywood Studio name will remain the same for the foreseeable future, since we are immersing our guests in a place where imagined worlds of Hollywood unfold around them, from movies and music to television and theater. I'm interested in why this happened. So do you think they were going to change it and canceled those plans because everybody online made fun of it? Or was the rumor just straight wrong? I don't know.
I think maybe it was a matter of I think they put those surveys out, or maybe they didn't. I don't even know if those surveys were actually true or not, but I think maybe they put the survey out, and then I think somebody had the idea of possibly changing it, but then when the backlash came about, all these people going, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? And then I think they went, you know what? We're just going to leave it how it is.
Yeah, I kind of think that too. I mean, I don't know if it's like done. I don't know. I don't want to say that they're like, we're not going to change it at all now. I don't know. Do you think that they're just done? Like they're not going to change it?
So the wording was the name will remain the same for the foreseeable future. So
that leaves it open.
I think that means we're not planning on changing it right now. But if you ask us again in 4 years, maybe it's now the whole place is Star Wars Land. I don't know.
Star Wars Studio Parks.
Yeah, exactly. Lucasfilm Parks.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, this is the things. They'll never, say, this is the way it is forever, because I mean that's kind of foolish of them to say, right? Because if they officially say this, that we're never ever going to change this again, even though it has changed in the past, it won't look good for them. So, but at the end of the day, Hollywood Studios, it does make sense because everything that they're doing is centered around their movie IPs, right? So
they should just rename it to Disney's Intellectual Property Park.
Yeah, that doesn't roll off the tongue quite the same.
What? It doesn't? You could shorten it to IP. It'd be like MGM.
IP Park.
Yeah, Disney IP Park.
IP, because there's nothing.
There's no jokes there that you can make. I don't know what you're talking about, Trevor.
Yeah. There's people in marketing that seriously believe those things are a good idea, and then when they say it out loud,
whoever thought Cinemagine was a good idea, that shouldn't have even been on the survey, let alone the rumored choice.
I honestly I don't know how much I believe the survey that went out, even that it was actually a Disney thing. It just seems
sketchy.
Yeah, it's so out in left field.
Yeah, it really did, especially for Disney parks, because if you even look at like all the Disney parks around the world, nobody has a name as weird as Cinemagine. There's just nobody has a name that is that weird. It just would be way outside of Disney's normal thing that they do with names. So I don't know. I just thought this was interesting that they came out and confirmed that no, the name will not be changing.
Yeah, maybe they heard our last podcast and decided.
That's obviously why. We know that everyone at Disney listens to this podcast, and they know how many people listen to it.
Obviously, yeah.
They just wanted to put that out to shut us up. There's a big conspiracy around this. To continue on with the Hollywood Studios news too, we actually just kind of found this news out a day or two ago here that Toy Story Land will officially be opening June 30th. They are going to be offering extra magic hours, much like Avatar did, which is a smart move, I think, by them. Mm-hmm. While they're continuing this construction, Toy Story Mania is going to be operating at a limited capacity. So they're actually not even allowing fast passes during a certain time in April while they're working on this, and they're actually moving the queue line to Toy Story Land. So if you're looking at where the queue line where you usually go into Toy Story Mania, it's actually pretty much flipped on the other side of the building. So
Yeah.
think of it that way. They're moving it all the way to the other side of the building. I did hear that they were supposedly adding some new things to the tracks while they were, doing this construction. My biggest question is, are they going to make it so finally they can use the Magic Band technology so you can see your name next to your score on the scoreboard? Because that's all I care about.
That's a good point, actually. And yeah,
how have they not used it for that yet? How?
It seems like a real easy thing, but also I guess Toy Story Midway Mania is a very complex ride to begin with, and maybe they needed some time for people to rejig it so that they can do stuff like that. So.
Yeah, maybe. I always thought that was a missed opportunity. It's like, sure, I can see my name on a screen at the end of Small Worlds, but how come I can't see my name next to my score on Midway Mania?
Yeah.
So, but did you see the concept art for the new entrance? Because it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to see as much of it as I can see when I go in May, because we're gonna be there well before it opens. So I'm not expecting to actually get into Toy Story Land, but it's it looks like Andy's backyard. It's pretty cool how they've done those transitions, I guess, because it's going to look a lot different from everything else at Hollywood Studios.
For sure. And I mean, for those that haven't seen the concept art, and we'll probably post it along on our Facebook along with the with the podcast announcement, it basically looks like the box that the game Toy Story Mania would come in, right? So, like, if Toy Story Mania were a real-life game, they created basically, like, packaging. No, of course it is, right?
Well, no, they actually released it on the Wii, right?
Oh, they did? I didn't know that. No, I did not. I don't have a Wii, so I...
Oh, yeah. Well, so yeah, they did actually release you can get all the mini games as a Wii game, so it's not nearly as fun to play, but because you're not in the car and all that. But yeah, it is an actual video game, and yeah, it's cool that they use that.
Well, and they haven't said anything about updating any of the games, but I have to believe that if they're doing all this construction, that they might throw some new games in there. I don't know. That's just a guess.
Well, either that or maybe leading into Toy Story 4 and any.
Oh, true.
Yeah. I could see them, putting more stuff in alongside that, because again, it's. I think they've kind of covered all the current characters with the games, so everything up to Toy Story 3. Like, there's characters that are there for each of the games, so I think they need some new guys to get in there.
I agree. And just so everyone knows, so FastPass reservations will not be available from April 9th through May 7th. So basically, they're not going to allow any FastPasses, because basically the ride's going to be reduced to just one track, which normally it has 3 tracks, but there will be only one track that's operating. So it's going to be pretty rough to get. The wait times for that are going to get pretty bad. So does that intersect with your vacation, Trevor?
Yeah, actually, we arrive like May 5th. so
you'll be able to get
actually,
one.
Yeah. We'll be able to get one later in the week, but I'll have to actually go back and look at what days we're planning to be in which park, because I think we may actually be there on the 7th.
Well, I'd be interested to know, though, if you can go on it, if anything's different, like if anything's updated that can notice. That would be cool if you did get on that thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I'll be paying attention to all that stuff, and I'll make notes. I did actually. So when I was there in September, just going on Tower of Terror, I got a pretty good view of the Toy Story park, but of course it was just a lot of dirt. But I could see the Slinky Dog track and everything at that point. But yeah, I'll be very curious to see how much that's changed since I was there last.
Are you surprised they're not trying to go for the Memorial Day opening, that they're delaying it to June 30th? Do you think it's because of Toy Story? Of Toy Story Mania? Because it seems from all the pictures I've seen lately, it looks like it's pretty close to done. It looks like Slinky's done, and that that the aliens are done. Maybe it's just landscaping work at this point and detail work, but it seems pretty close to completion.
I think actually that some of it has to do with Pixar Pier in California.
Oh, interesting.
Because that is slated to open up in June as well. So I think what they're trying to do is because for those that don't know, Pixar Pier was Paradise Pier got redone. It's all being redone as Pixar themed stuff, and a lot of that is Toy Story centric things, but also Incredibles and all the other Pixar IPs. But I think they're trying to line those two openings up kind of close to each other because they just want to promote the Pixar IPs in general. So yeah, you'll see Toy Story Land open up, and then you're going to see a whole bunch of celebration about Pixar appear at the same time as well. So if they did them a month apart, I think it would look weird.
I didn't even think about that, and that makes total sense.
Yeah,
that makes total sense. But hopefully, and we'll report this if it does come out. But hopefully, they'll have pass holder and DVC previews. So, so hopefully, some of our listeners maybe can get in early on the DVC preview and let us know how it was. That would be great.
And how far ahead did they do the Avatar previews? I don't remember when they did that.
I want to say it was like a month or two ahead because we were doing the podcast when they had the previews because I remember talking about it, but. I think it was like a month or so at least ahead of time, and maybe even 2 months. It was pretty far ahead.
Well, I'll have to keep an eye out for those too, because if anything comes up while I'm there that I can get into a pass holder event or something like that, I will try my best while I'm down there.
Yeah, I hope you can. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So. Just really quickly here, because we want to move on here, and we got a couple more topics we want to finish.
We're done with Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about Hollywood Studios anymore. There's a lot of Hollywood Studios today. Really quickly, so the minivan prices. Minivans have kind of become a very popular option and have expanded to a lot of the resorts. A lot of the value resorts are getting them now. And with that change, with those additions, comes a price increase from $20 to $25. My question, I thought $20 was a little expensive in the first place, especially when you can get a Lyft or an Uber for much cheaper than that. I don't know. For me, 25 is even still way not worth it to me. I don't know what you think, but that's a little pricey in my mind.
To me, it's still, I guess, for my use case for it is that like I'm planning to use a minivan while I'm down there, but it's going to be for like a single trip that we were actually going to use it to go to Animal Kingdom so that we didn't have to get on the bus because that's going to be the furthest trip from our hotel. So it's going to be a one-time use thing. And so for the $25, it's not, to me, that's not too big of a deal. If I was using the minivan more so on my trip, like if I was using it multiple times, I might be a little deterred from this. But yeah, I mean the $5 increase, I think it's just I think they've kind of looked at the cost of an Uber and the demographics of who's using these services, and I think they realized that they can probably charge an extra $5 because people are willing to pay for it, and also maybe this is also to help them ramp up the fleet, because what I understood too is that there's a lot more of these around, but they have to employ a lot more people, and they have to. There's a bit more overhead for it, so maybe they realized that they weren't quite making enough to justify $20 a trip. That's
a valid point. I had thought of that, but. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It also could be a supply and demand thing too, trying to, while they increase the supply, trying to tamp down some of the demand. But I don't know. I think you're right though. I think when you're using it one time or for specific use, to go to a dinner or something like that, then it's worth it for the $25. But if you're using it for every transportation that you take while you're at the resort, I mean, it just depends on how you are. I'm cheap, so I probably would just be like, let's take the bus. That's free, Mm-hmm. So that's just me, though. I'm cheap, so.
Yeah, it comes down to is what's more valuable, your time or your money?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this brings us to. My new favorite segment we've done the past couple weeks, which is traveling internationally with Trevor. So Trevor, you're going to talk about luggage today, I think you said.
Yeah. So first of all, actually, I wanted to just circle back on what we talked about last time, which was grocery services. And I did have I had somebody message me about this. Her name was Julianne S. She had mentioned that in addition to Garden Grocer, there is another service out there called Dizzy Dolphin. And so I had heard of these guys a while ago, but I had never really looked into them. Dizzy Dolphin is actually a grocery service that's run by people who are DVC members. So the people who founded it, they are DVC, and so they run this.
know that.
Yeah, they run this service with the intent of, for people who are DVC, so they can get their groceries on site. And the nice thing is that they're very accommodating for helping you with special requests and stuff like that. So in addition to everything that I mentioned on the previous podcast, Dizzy Dolphin is definitely something to look into for those that are wanting to get groceries on site. And I'll be not for this trip because I've already set all my stuff up with Garden Grocer, but on my next trip I'll definitely be investigating Dizzy Dolphin when I go. So I just wanted to mention that one.
I'm sorry, I've heard of that one a couple times, and I've heard a couple people. So thanks to that listener for writing that in. We appreciate you letting us know about that.
Yeah, for sure. And so outside of that, or what I actually want to talk about, and this is, I know it sounds so boring, but luggage. As an international traveler, it does matter to me that I have the right luggage for my trip. And so, and I know a lot of people when you buy your luggage and you replace it once every 10 years, or at least I do. I generally don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. But before we went on our last trip, we made sure that we had the right luggage for our trip, because when you're or at least for me, I don't travel a lot by plane, and so when I looked at the luggage that I had, it was actually really small. And you do have to think about things like there is weight restrictions. Each airline has certain weight restrictions and size restrictions on their luggage. And honestly, if you can manage to basically buy your luggage to be as close to the maximum as possible for those restrictions, because you want to have as much space as possible in your luggage. The other thing too that you want to think about as well is that, and this actually surprised me, because I kind of assumed that all luggage at this point had the TSA locks on them, but you do actually want to make sure that your luggage is TSA approved if possible. I know, again, people outside of North America may not necessarily have access to this, but I had actually bought. So we had bought our luggage, and so all the luggage that we take with us down to Florida, it has a special little key on it, so that when they need to go through your luggage, they don't have to actually bust your lock in order to do it. They can just pop it open, check what they need to, and then lock it back up, and they don't have to actually mess with your lock, your combination lock or anything. But I actually had my wife had actually bought luggage for another trip that she was just doing inside the country, and I said to her, let's just use that luggage on our next trip. And then I looked at it and I realized that it didn't actually have this TSA lock on it, so I couldn't actually lock this luggage and take it through customs and all that, because if they saw it and they wanted to open it, they would have to actually bust the lock in order to get into our luggage. So these are things, again, as an international traveler, you do have to think about them, and it's a bit of a pain in the butt, but it's part of, if you're wanting to travel and go to a tourist destination in the States, you do have to factor these things in to your travel. So, as far as luggage goes, like I said, I very highly recommend, getting as large a possible size. What I actually did was I went on to my airline's website and I found what their maximum dimensions were, and then I found luggage that was an inch smaller than that.
Oh, nice.
because again,
the biggest possible by with an inch. Available left.
Yeah, and again, that was so that we made sure that we had as much space as possible. But then on the flip side of that too is that you also want to be careful, because when you're packing your luggage, you don't want to load all your heavy stuff into one luggage, because then you end up paying a weight overage. Which again, we actually got hit with this on our last trip coming home, but that was partly because we were tired and we didn't care at that point. But when we were coming back. We got to the airport, and our one luggage was, they were both full, and we had, souvenirs and all that kind of stuff, but they put the one luggage on and it was fine. and then they put the other luggage on, and it was like 15 pounds over the weight limit. And so at that point, they're like, "Oh, do you want to shuffle some stuff around, like, to get them both under?" And we just didn't care, and we were just like, we'll just pay it this time. But yeah, you definitely want to think about that though with your luggage, both going down there and coming back, is you want to try and make sure that if you're taking more than one luggage, like in our case, we actually have two. We have two luggage that we take with us. Is that you want to try and balance all of your stuff between them so that you don't have to pay extra when you get onto the flight.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's not super exciting, but these are the things that I'm starting to think about at this point for my trip, and yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a challenge coming internationally, but yeah, if you do a bit of research ahead of time, it definitely helps with not getting surprised by these things when you arrive at the airport.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And those of you out there that have your own, that are if you're traveling internationally, please let us know if you have some tips too that we can mention on the show.
Yes, absolutely. Because I would love to know more of these things too, and yeah, I hope that this is helpful to other people at the same time.
Absolutely, I've learned a lot. Because I don't think about any of these things, so I've learned a whole lot about if I had to fly down there from outside the country. So,
yep.
Anything else you want to mention on that before we finish this thing up with some rumors?
No, I think I'm ready to go with this.
Cool. So our first rumor is not really a rumor; it's just a funny article that I found. Did you read this?
Yeah.
There's
oh
a
my
guy.
Gosh.
Yeah. So apparently, every 20 years, the Constitution Revision Commission of Florida solicits input from the public on how to make the state better. And anybody can submit a proposal for this, right? So
people that don't even live in the state,
people that don't even live in the state can submit a proposal. And so somebody submitted a proposal to take Bay Lake, the cities of Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista, which those of you that don't know, that is technically where Disney World resides, are those two cities, to be dissolved and reincorporated as the City of Disney. It's just such a dumb story, but it just made me laugh, and I had to bring it up. I mean, I think I've always thought it was weird that it wasn't something Disney related, where they were located, but at the same time, should it really be called City of Disney? I don't know.
I can tell you the reason why it's not Disney.
Oh, that's a whole podcast episode.
Well,
right?
I can give you the short answer. When Walt Disney was looking for land in Florida, he didn't want people to know that it was him looking for the land because of what happened in California when he made Disneyland. As soon as it was announced he was making Disneyland, all these people bought up property around him and built all those hotels that are there to this day. So he had no way to expand or buy any more property. So he formed another company, Buena Vista, I believe it was. And I can't remember the other one, Reedy Creek, I think.
Yeah, so it's the Reedy Creek Improvement District is technically like the incorporated area that it is actually a part of. So that's why if you've ever seen a Disney fire truck, it's the Reedy Creek fire department.
Exactly. So he formed these other companies that didn't have his name, and he had people go out there on his behalf and go in and buy up all the property. So that he could buy up as much as he wanted without people figuring out that he was planning to build a theme park there and then subsequently build hotels and crowd him in again. So,
and if by the way, if you want to see the names of all those shell companies, they're actually on the windows of Main Street. So
yes.
If you're walking down, were you going to say that, Trevor? I'm sorry if I just stole your thunder.
Well, it's good. I mean, these are those great Disney facts that everybody loves to hear. So
exactly.
All the shell companies are on Main Street, and so that's the reason why it is named as it is. And so this guy with his suggestion to rename to the City of Disney is Walt Disney didn't want it labeled as Disney because he just didn't want people to know he was buying up land at the time. Whether it's named that now or not doesn't really matter, but it's still silly in my mind that he's putting in a suggestion like this. And
And also, and on top of that, the original concept for Epcot was an actual real working city, right? So it was, Epcot was never supposed to be a theme park. It was supposed to be an actual working city where people would come and collaborate and, about technology and ideas. And it was a really interesting concept at the time. And so in order to do that, this is a whole podcast topic, honestly. But in order to do that, he had to petition the state of Florida to kind of allow Disney World to be its own government, basically. And so that's part of this too. But I just thought this whole thing was funny.
And also keep in mind that the guy who submitted this thing, he doesn't even live in Florida. He lives in North Carolina.
He also, and I swear it wasn't me. I just brought this up because this was actually me. I'm trying for my petition to get some, to pick up some ground.
Do you have City of Disney shirts already printed that you want to sell?
Oh yeah, that's probably what this guy's angle is, right?
Yeah, he's got a whole box of these T-shirts he wants to sell.
He's got thousands of shirts already printed, just waiting. This is not going to happen though.
No, definitely not.
But this other rumor is a little juicier, and we actually kind of talked about this as a rumor before, but this rumor's got a little more credence now. So this is really interesting. There were a bunch of permits filed all around Epcot, showing some significant detail about the construction that's going around Epcot. So some of it is for Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's some also interesting areas with these permits that look like they could be for the hotel we've been talking about around Epcot, maybe right at the gate, maybe connected to the monorail. So there's some really interesting things going on with this. And it looks like there's a couple different places that the hotel could possibly go. And so that's kind of where these things are going. Basically, let's see here.
If you're looking at the gate to Epcot, this is all happening to the right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Directly to the right. Yep.
Which I guess would be west if you like your cardinal directions.
That makes sense. But yeah, so this is this is some of the first proof really that there's a possibility. Because this was rumored for a while, but this is really interesting that it really could be something that might happen. And truthfully, I feel like with all the stuff that they're going to do to Epcot, they're really going to need another hotel there too, I would think. I don't know, but I thought this was really kind of an interesting thing, and I'll share an image of the the kind of the permits and some of the different things that are out there. But I think permits are usually the best indicator of things that Disney is doing. Sometimes they can be a little bit misleading, but I mean, people knew about the gondolas way ahead of time because of the permits that were being filed. So it's a very interesting thing. And if you're trying to think of it geographically, as far as the park goes, kind of think of maybe like behind the Living Seas kind of area is where we're looking at.
Yeah. Behind the Living Seas, kind of like that. That's when I think outside of the park, like that's kind of where the buses drop off, is all to the right hand side.
Yep.
So they would have to. I mean, buses and parking and all that stuff would have to kind of shuffle around, I would think.
Well, and that's what the interesting thing about this. There's a lot of permits that were filed with this, and so there's a wooded area that's apparently going to be leveled, cleared and leveled for development. So, that would maybe be how they would replace the parking lots. So they would clear this other area that's kind of off behind, how do I describe what this is? It's even further off to the right, basically.
Yeah.
If you're looking at Epcot, and so that would be all cleared out for additional parking lots. So maybe that's what they would do if they got rid of those parking lots to build the hotel. They would kind of reroute all that stuff to those new ones that they build. So
and I think basically like looking at the permit is they're kind of filling in all the available space leading up to the roads.
Yep.
Around there, like what is that? International? No.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's some backstage roads too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like they're possibly going to, like, it's not just going to be that it's going to be all buildings, but the parking and everything is going to take up more of that space leading up to Epcot that right now is woodlands.
Yeah. So This is very interesting to me. More to come. Obviously, this is still a rumor because we really have no idea what's going to come of it. It could be nothing. They might just be putting in more parking. Who knows? But I don't know. I find this very interesting, and I feel like there's a lot of smoke here. To make me think that there's a possibility of another hotel. Possibly this time within the confines of actual Epcot. Which would be really, really cool. That would be a place I would definitely want to stay. So it
would be the first, or actually, I shouldn't say that because the Star Wars hotel might even beat it. But it would be the first hotel in Disney World that is actually attached to a park.
That's true. Yes, it would be, or inside a park. Although technically, you could say that the suite that's in Cinderella Castle. But that's one room that you can't even buy. That's not like a hotel, right? Yeah. And I was going to compare it to this is like the Grand Californian, which is directly attached to California Adventures. This will be the same thing. As you'll have this hotel that is attached to Epcot, and then you'll have the Star Wars hotel that is attached to Hollywood Studios. And who knows? Maybe we'll get something in Magic Kingdom. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
To be fair, they've already got 3 hotels on the resort loop already. So on the monorail resort loop. So I guess having one right there wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, you want to wrap this thing up? I think we talked a lot today. It's been a lot of Hollywood Studios talk.
This concludes our Hollywood Studios episode.
/ DVC update episode.
So once again, for anything that we've said here that you guys would love to comment on, or if you have any of your own experiences to share, you can always find us by email at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We also have our website, which, kind of like David said, I don't even know why I mention it anymore, because it's kind of there. But we tend to use Facebook more. So I mean, the website is www.welcomehomepodcast.com. At least for now. Maybe won't be in the future. I don't know. We'll just get rid of it.
We'll see. That's in the rumor section, Trevor. That's in the rumor section.
Yeah, we'll leave that in the rumor section for now. But if you want to reach us on social media, we are, of course, on Facebook, which you can find us as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on Twitter as Welcome Home Pod, and you can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. And as usual, we are available on iTunes. We are available on Stitcher and Google Play and all that. And we do appreciate reviews from you guys. So if you're listening to this, please give us a review, because it helps us become more visible so that more people can listen to our stuff.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast, too, so you can be reminded every time we have a new episode come out. I think one of the best things you can do is every time we release a new episode, get a little alert on your phone saying, hey, new episode of Welcome Home, and get really excited so you can listen to us on your commute or wherever you listen to us. And as Trevor mentioned, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, any podcast app that's out there, you can find us. And just a reminder to our listeners, as always, Welcome Home's Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only.
We're not employed.
You know what? It's been a long show today. I'm tired. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any opinions we express on this show are our own. So please consult a DVC representative or Disney cast member for more information and to confirm anything that we might have said on here. So join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion and, of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.